Hello, hello, Ruby Retrograde Tarot and Tea here. And what will I be dishing out and sipping up? It is 31 Days of Tarot Challenge by Ethony. Today it is day 11, and the prompt is, how can you put a positive spin on the death card? So as you see here, I've laid out a few, five different version of the death card. If you're curious about it, here we have the Rider-Waite-Smith. Here we have Heaven and Earth. This one comes from Soul card. This one comes from Voyage Lumineux, which I believe it is Luminous Journey in English. And this one comes from Majestic Tarot. And yes, some decks have made their appearance once again, so you can tell which one I'm appreciating right now. Now, putting a positive spin on the death card. Personally, I think it's easier to do so for the death card than for, let's say, the tower. Like as a side note, when I get the tower, it's one of those like slap in the face, like, oh my gosh, nothing good's gonna come of it, but I have, like, there's no way around it. I'm gonna have to just bear it. The death card here, I think a lot of people, when they when they see it, their first reaction is, sometimes it can be as extreme on one end as, oh my gosh, someone is going to die, which is extremely rare when that case would actually be true, or they'll think that it's something really bad, but most of the time it's not. I mean, when you look at the definition of the death card, it often talks about something coming to an end. Now, something coming to an end, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. I mean, for example, if you were in a romantic relationship with someone and things weren't going well and you weren't happy or satisfied, or you had constant issues and nothing was coming through, that particular situation coming to an end, while it would suck, is a good thing because you don't have to spend more of your precious time on it. And to me, the death card is always that something is being put to rest so that something new can start. Kind of a bit like the Majestic Earth card, which is a bit why I brought that one out, because if you kind of think about it, when there's a forest fire, yes, it is it does ravage, it does not spare anyone, or it kind of goes where it goes. If the wind blows it one way, it'll go the other way, but after a while, if it goes through a forest, the forest will grow back from it. It's not as if it's something permanent that nothing can come back from it. Like I can't think of particular forest fires where, trees were not growing back after a while. And so that's how I think about that. It's something that it is coming to an end so that something new can start. A bit kind of like for this version here, while you see here the death figure coming with its scythe, and it has the hourglass denoting it watching for the time, there is still a rose here, that kind of perseveres, that is there. And in the background you have the sun. Now, depending on what cards are around it or how you see it, it could be a sunrise or a sunset. So I like this kind of a duality here. Another version of the death card that explanation, I should say, for the death card that I've read, that I like the explanation of it. It comes from Rachel Pollack's book 78 Degrees of Wisdom, where she says that the death card isn't so much about transformation, but it's about the shedding the ego. Here, when you see this, for more I'll call it traditional or closer to the source version, you see here a skeleton, and there Rachel explains that the skeleton just is a way of representing the person stripped of all ego, so that they can go and turn into their more authentic selves, their true persona. And usually what happens with death, you have a few things. Some people don't want to talk about it because it's taboo. Others are afraid of death, and because they're afraid of death, it kind of stops them from living it more fully, or they or it's they everything, they might become overly cautious. And a lot of people, they kind of want to have this feeling that they'll all their presence will always be there, so they try to kind of make themselves immortal now, whether it be through kids, or if they can become famous, or their work, something that is strong enough that even when they pass away, they'll still leave a trace. And Rachel, in their book, they explain that for the death card, the people that you see here is different outlooks that people have towards death. So for example, the person that is on the ground here, this is a person whose ego was so big, they kind of fell because they could not take the possibility of death coming, and they couldn't face it. Their ego was much in the way. Then you have the religious figure, which I believe it's either a pope or a cardinal, who's upright, and he's able to face death because for I'll take in the case of Christianity, they teach that death is a way for the soul to leave the physical body. And if on earth you had done good deeds and you were a good person, then the soul can leave the mortal plane to then go into paradise, into the arms of God, right? Then you have, I believe this person, I believe she was described as a young virgin or something like that, is that while she can somewhat kind of face death, it's still kind of, that person still kind of turns their head away because their ego kind of is blocking it from fully facing what death means. And then you have the child who's completely innocent, hasn't yet had an ego to, boast themselves or become arrogant, things like that, simply offers flowers to death, kind of as much as they take in life, they take in death. They don't yet have the social construct or religious belief, or of whether it be we don't talk about death, or we have to be afraid of death, or anything like that. So to them it's just something, and it's just something like any other, and they're kind of just offering what they have. And I like that explanation because it made me think of stories that I've read and heard of when people were in a situation where they faced death, or those shows where people were declared dead but then they came back. And then a lot of them, what they were saying is after that experience, they lived life more fully, because for some of them, they weren't afraid of death anymore, so they were able to let that go out of themselves, and just bear themselves all to the world and really enjoy life for what it is, and for all the time that they would have left there. So for me, I think the positive spin of the death card is the fact that this is where you would face, I guess it could be literally your fear of death, or something that you feel is stopping you from your full potential. It could be your own ego, so your own self, or it could be something else. And it's the fact of really dropping it and not being afraid of who you're going to be once you kind of took it off, once you're nothing but yourself, without any social mask, artifices, fakeness. So I think when this card comes up, it's not so much that something bad is happening. It might be that it's just time for yourself to see what it is that you don't want to face, or what it is that you don't want to face, that is probably time to put to rest, to face it and deal with it, so that you can move on to something better in your life. Being able to enjoy more of what life has to offer. I mean, for example, in the forest fire, when yes, the forest is can be, ravaged and it's all darkened, but that means that there's more space for plants to grow now, and they can, whatever plant decides to grow first, they can, expand as much as they want. And a bit kind of like the suns here. Yes, the sun will always, like, well, up until the sun decides to to explode type of thing and become like a white dwarf and red dwarf and everything else. But that's a science lesson that I do not remember. But the sun does come again to shine. There is still life to be had after maybe a more difficult time of your life. It is going to be difficult, not comfortable. It won't be fun necessarily, but once you deal with it, then you have all that energy that you kept focused on that one thing that was bothering you. Now you can put it and redirect it towards something that you actually like, something that is more beneficial. And imagine, just if you're not spending all your energy on some worry or something that concerns you, if you don't have to worry or concern about it anymore, you can, all this effort, you can put it into something else, like a project that you have, a love that you have, your own self, to just grow yourself that much better. So I hope this makes sense a bit, but for me, that is my positive spin on the death card. The fact that it's a way of yes, transforming, yes, things ending, but it's also because things are ending, that energy no longer has to be on that, on whatever is ending anymore. You can now direct it into hopefully something more productive to you, more useful to you. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think? What is for you a positive spin on the death card? Did I make sense? If I didn't make sense, let me know and I'll try and explain it more. But until next time, thank you for stopping by and watching my video, and until next time, bye bye.